Welcome to The Explainer. All right, we're going to tackle 2,500 years of Western philosophy. How on earth do we do that? Well, by looking at it as one single, epic conversation about the biggest questions we've ever dared to ask. So where do you even begin a story that big? Let's start right here, with this brilliant definition from Bertrand Russell, because it perfectly sets the stage. He saw philosophy as this fascinating middle ground. See, on one hand, it's kind of like theology. It wrestles with these huge questions that don't really have final answers, like what is a good life? But on the other hand, it's like science. It uses pure human reason, not some divine book, to try and figure things out. It's really a quest for wisdom, just powered by logic.
And that quest, that idea of using logic to understand the world, it truly ignites in one place, ancient Greece. For thousands of years, the world was explained by myths, by stories about gods. But then, around the 6th century BC, this totally revolutionary idea pops up. What if we can understand the universe just by using our own minds?
What happened next was just this incredible explosion of thinking, like a relay race of ideas. It kicks off with a guy named Thales, who starts asking, what is all this stuff around us actually made of? Then the baton gets passed to Socrates, who famously drove everyone in Athens crazy by questioning everything, claiming the only thing he knew for sure was that he knew nothing. And then it's passed to his student, Plato, and then to Plato's student, Aristotle. And together, those two guys would frame the central debate for the next 2,000 years.
And here is the fundamental conflict they set up. On one side, you've got Plato. He argued that the world we see and touch isn't the real world. It's just a shadow of a higher, perfect reality, a world of ideal forms. For him, you find truth only through pure reason. But his own student, Aristotle, he thought that was nuts. He believed the only reality is the one right here in front of us, the one we can observe and study. And this tension, this tug of war between finding truth in our heads or finding it in the world, becomes the engine that drives the whole story of Western thought.
So, after the classical world of Greece and Rome fades away, philosophy enters a totally new chapter. The intellectual center of gravity, it shifts from the open-air markets of Athens to the quiet monasteries of the Christian church. The big questions were still there, but the whole framework for how you'd answer them was about to change completely. And St. Augustine just nails this new project. See, early Christian thinkers, they didn't just throw out Greek philosophy, not at all. They adapted it. They loved Plato's logic and his ideas about a higher reality, but they believed the ultimate truth wasn't something you could reason your way to. No, it had to be revealed by God. So in this new era, philosophy basically gets a new job title. It became the handmaiden of theology. It was a tool in service of faith. Which meant that for about 1,000 years, the big intellectual challenge wasn't really about discovering new things. It was about building a bridge. The whole goal was to create one massive, coherent system that could fit both the hardcore logic of Aristotle and the divine truths of the Bible under one roof. And this massive effort hits its absolute peak with something called scholasticism. Thinkers like Thomas Aquinas took on the monumental task of using Aristotle's super-precise logical tools to analyze and defend every single bit of Christian doctrine. What they built was this breathtakingly complete worldview, where it really seemed like faith and reason could live together in perfect harmony. But that perfect harmony, that grand system that seemed so solid, well, it was about to be shattered. The scientific revolution came along. You have thinkers like Copernicus and Galileo, and they're revealing a universe that just doesn't line up with what the old authorities said, not Aristotle and not the Bible. And just like that, everything was up for grabs. I mean, if the ancient Greeks were wrong and the church's authority was now in question, what in the world could you actually be sure of? Philosophy gets thrown into this deep crisis of doubt and basically has to go all the way back to square one. And this is where René Descartes comes in with a totally radical idea. His method was simple. Doubt absolutely everything. Your senses, your memories, the chair you're sitting on, all of it. Why? Because he was searching for just one thing that was impossible to doubt. And he found it in the act of doubting itself. He realized, hey, I can't doubt that I'm thinking. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. And from that one tiny certain point, he was going to try and rebuild all of human knowledge. This move sparked the next great debate, and honestly, it's going to sound a lot like Plato versus Aristotle all over again. On one side, you have the rationalists like Descartes, who say true knowledge is built from innate ideas and pure logic inside our own heads. And on the other side, you've got the empiricists like John Locke, who argue that the mind starts as a blank slate, a tabula rasa, and every single thing we know is written on it by our experiences in the world. Now, this profound disagreement about where knowledge even comes from, it didn't lead to a dead end. Far from it. In fact, it became the foundation for the modern world, branching out into politics, art, science, you name it.
Just think about it. From those two streams of thought, reason and experience, flowed nearly every major ism that has shaped our lives. The ideas of John Locke helped give birth to liberalism and modern democracy. A backlash against pure reason helped fuel the Romantic movement. And the conversation just kept going, evolving through German idealism, existentialism, and all the rest.
So when you look at it this way, the history of philosophy isn't some dusty collection of old ideas, right? It's one long, continuous conversation. It's a story that moved from explaining the world through gods, to explaining it through pure reason, and then finally to grounding all of knowledge in the individual self. Which leaves us with the ultimate question: what chapter are we all writing today?